Wealthy Habits. Audit. Reforming your daily schedule for peak productivity and peace. An empowerment audiobook for the high-value woman. Introduction. The audit begins here. Take a breath, a slow, intentional one, in through the nose and out through the mouth. Welcome, Queen. Welcome to this space, a space carved out specifically for you, for your growth, your clarity, and your power. I want you to think about yesterday, not to judge it, but to witness it. What did your day look like? Did you leap out of bed with purpose, moving through your hours with grace and intention? Or did you wake up already behind, already reactive, already pouring from an empty vessel before you ever had a chance to fill it? If it was the latter, if yesterday felt like survival rather than strategy, then this audiobook was written for you. My name matters less than this message. You are not broken. You are not lazy. You are not incapable of the life you envision. What you may be, however, is misscheduled. You are a woman of extraordinary worth operating inside a structure that was never designed to honor that worth. Today, we audit that structure. Today, we dismantle what is not serving you and rebuild precision of a woman who knows her value. This is the Wealthy Habits Audit, and it begins right now. Chapter 1. The Price of Chaos. There is a tax on chaos, not a visible one, not one that shows up on a bank statement or a receipt, but it is paid every single day, and it costs you something far more precious than money. It costs you energy. It costs you clarity. It costs you the compounded interest of your most powerful hours. Let us be honest with one another. How many mornings have you started already overwhelmed? How many times have you checked your phone before your feet hit the floor, immediately handing your most receptive mental state over to someone else's agenda, their emails, their emergencies, their noise? That is not a morning routine. That is an ambush. The high-value woman understands something foundational. The first hour of your day is the most valuable real estate on your schedule. It sets the neurological tone for everything that follows. When you allow chaos to colonize that hour, notifications, headlines, drama, you are essentially starting your day in debt. And here is what no one tells you about urgency culture. It is addictive. The adrenaline of constantly putting out fires, of being needed, of staying perpetually busy can feel like productivity. It can even feel like importance. But busyness is not business. Frantic is not focused. And urgency, unchecked, is simply anxiety wearing a productive mask. The wealthy woman, and I mean wealthy not just in finances, but in time, energy, and peace. She has learned to distinguish between what is urgent and what is important, and she has learned, with radical discipline, serve the important first. This chapter is your first audit checkpoint. I want you to answer these questions honestly in the journal, or mind, or in the margins of your life. What does my morning actually look like versus what I wish it looked like? Who or what receives the first hour of my energy each day? How often am I operating in reactive mode versus proactive mode? What is the emotional cost of my current daily structure? These are not easy questions, but they are essential ones, because you cannot reform what you refuse to examine. Chapter 2. The Myth of Hustle. We need to have a direct conversation about hustle culture, because it has been sold to women, particularly to ambitious women, as the ultimate badge of honor. Rise and grind, sleep when you are dead. You can rest when you have made it. I am here to call that what it is, a lie wrapped in glitter. Hustle culture was not designed with the high-value woman in mind. It was designed for a world that already had systems supporting it, systems that many of us were never included in. When we adopted this model wholesale, we did not gain power. We gained burnout with better branding. Here is the truth. Sustainable wealth, financial, emotional, spiritual, is not built in a frenzy. It is built in rhythm, in consistency, in the quiet, daily deposits made into the account of your highest self. Think of the most powerful women you admire, not just successful, truly powerful, radiantly alive, deeply at peace with their impact. Do they strike you as frantic? Do they seem like they are running on empty, fueled by caffeine and cortisol? They move with intention. They speak with deliberateness. They protect their energy like the asset it is. That is not an accident. That is architecture. Someone built that life by design, and the first step in that design is dismantling the myth at more hours equal more value. They do not. What creates value is not the quantity of your hours, but the quality of your presence within them. Deep work, the kind of focused, uninterrupted, cognitively demanding work that actually moves the needle, cannot happen in 5-minute windows between interruptions. It requires blocks. It requires boundaries. It requires a woman who has decided that her best thinking deserves her best conditions. This is your audit for Chapter 2. Where in my schedule am I performing busyness instead of doing meaningful work? What tasks am I doing out of habit, obligation, or fear rather than alignment? If I could only accomplish 3 things tomorrow, what would they be? And when am I actually giving those things my full attention? Chapter 3. Designing the schedule of a high-value woman. Now we build. Now we create. This is where the audit becomes architecture. A high-value woman's schedule is not a to-do list. It is a declaration. Every time block is a statement about what she values, what she protects, and what she refuses to compromise on. Let us start with the morning anchor. Your morning anchor is the non-negotiable ritual that grounds you before the world begins demanding from you. It does not have to be long. It does not require a 2-hour wellness routine, though if that serves you, beautiful. What it requires is intentionality. For some women, the morning anchor is 30 minutes of silence. No phone, no news, just breath and thought. For others, it is movement. A walk, a stretch, a dance in the kitchen that reminds the body it is alive and capable. For others still, it is journaling, pouring out the mental clutter so the mind can receive clarity. Whatever form it takes, your morning anchor serves one purpose. It ensures that you, not the world, set the tone of your day. Next, we design your peak performance window. Every human being has a window, usually 2 to 4 hours, during which their cognitive function, creativity, and decision-making are at their sharpest. For most people, this falls in the morning or late morning, though some women are natural afternoon performers. Do you know yours? If not, pay attention this week. When do you feel most alive, most clear, most capable of your best thinking? That window, that sacred window, belongs to your most important work, not emails, not meetings that could have been messages, not administrative tasks. Your most important, most meaningful, most wealth-generating work. Guard it, schedule around it, communicate its importance to anyone who might intrude upon it. After your peak window, honor the natural dip. The mid-afternoon low is not a character flaw, it is physiology. Instead of fighting it with more caffeine, work with it. Use this time for lower stakes tasks, returning calls, reviewing documents, handling logistics, or revolutionary idea, rest. A 20-minute rest during this window has been shown to restore cognitive function more effectively than pushing through with stimulants. Then, as your second wind arrives, you have space for connection, meetings, collaborations, creative brainstorming with others, and finally, the evening close. The evening close is as critical as the morning anchor. This is how you tell your nervous system that the workday is complete. It signals transition. It creates the boundary between your professional self and your personal, restorative self. This might look like writing tomorrow's 3 priorities, closing all browser tabs, changing your clothes, or simply stepping outside for 10 minutes of open sky. The ritual itself matters less than its consistency. You're training your body and mind to know this is where the day ends and renewal begins. Chapter 4. Reclaiming Time from the Invisible Thieves. You may be wondering, this sounds beautiful, but my schedule is not mine to design. I have a job, children, responsibilities, a life that requires me to be available. I hear you, and I honor the real demands of a real life, but I also want to gently challenge you. Are all the demands on your time truly external, or have some of them been internalized, absorbed so deeply that they feel like external requirements, and they are actually choices you have been making unconsciously? The invisible thieves of time are not always dramatic. They rarely announce themselves. They look like scrolling, just for a minute, that becomes 45. They look like saying yes to requests that belong to someone else's priority list. They look like the committee of perfectionism that keeps you revising something that was already good enough 30 minutes ago. They look like emotional labor performed for people who have never asked you to carry it. Let me introduce you to 4 of the most common invisible thieves in the schedules of high-achieving women. The first is the approval loop. This is the habit of checking, constantly checking for external validation before moving forward, checking emails for responses, checking social media for engagement, checking in with others before trusting your own judgment. Every check costs you time, but more critically, it costs you the confidence that compounds into authority. The second thief is perfectionism paralysis. Perfectionism presents itself as a virtue, a commitment to excellence, but perfectionism in practice is often fear in a business suit. The presentation that could have been submitted is still being refined. The offer that could have been made is still being polished. The boundary that could have been set is still being softened. Excellence is a worthy pursuit, but perfection, as a standard, is a moving goalpost designed to keep you permanently in preparation rather than in power. The third thief is misaligned obligation. These are the tasks, roles, and relationships that you maintain not because they serve your growth, but because they are familiar, because someone expects it, or because you fear the discomfort of renegotiating them. A high-value woman audits her obligations with the same rigor she applies to her investments. If it does not yield return, joy, growth, love, or aligned purpose, it is a liability masquerading as a responsibility. The fourth thief is digital fragmentation. The average person checks their phone over 100 times per day. Every check is a micro-interruption, a tiny reset of your cognitive momentum. The cost of each interruption is not just the seconds lost to the check itself, it is the time required to re-enter deep focus afterward, which research suggests can take up to 23 minutes. The wealthy woman is ruthlessly intentional about her relationship with technology. She uses it, she does not serve it. Your audit for this chapter: which of these 4 thieves is most active in your schedule? What would 1 week look like if you reclaimed just 1 hour per day from invisible theft? What permission do you need to grant yourself to begin? Chapter 5. The Stillness Principle. Rest as a wealth strategy. I need to say something. The productivity industrial complex has worked very hard to suppress. Rest is not the absence of productivity. Rest is a wealth strategy. Let me say that again, because I want it to settle into the places that have been convinced otherwise. Rest is a wealth strategy. Here is the physiology. Your brain has 2 primary modes of operation. The first is the task-positive network, activated when you are focused, executing, solving. The second is the default mode network, activated during rest, daydreaming, and reflection. For a long time, science ignored the default mode network. assuming that a brain at rest was an unproductive brain. We now know this is profoundly wrong. The default mode network is where integration happens. It is where your brain consolidates learning, connects disparate ideas, processes emotions, and generates the kind of insight that cannot be forced through effort. Some of your best ideas, the ones that arrive in the shower, on a walk, in the quiet moment before sleep, are not accidents. They are the product of a brain finally given permission to do its deepest work. Every major creative and intellectual breakthrough in your life has likely been preceded not by more effort, but by a period of spaciousness. That is not coincidence, that is neuroscience. And yet we have been taught, particularly as women, particularly as ambitious women, to feel guilty for stillness, to equate rest with laziness, to fill every pause with productivity, to treat silence as something to be escaped rather than inhabited. This is one of the most expensive beliefs you can carry, because when you never rest, you never integrate. You collect experiences, information, and effort without ever distilling them into wisdom. You run the engine without ever changing the oil, and eventually, sometimes suddenly, sometimes slowly, the engine breaks. Burnout is not a productivity problem, it is a restoration deficit. The high-value woman builds rest into her schedule not as a reward for work completed, but as a non-negotiable infrastructure of her performance. She sleeps 7 to 9 hours, not because she has earned it, but because she understands that her mind and body are the instruments of her wealth, and instruments require maintenance. She takes breaks not when she collapses but on schedule, because she knows that a 20-minute reset between deep work sessions returns more than 2 hours of diminishing return effort. She takes vacations, real ones, where she is fully present and fully offline, because she knows that the perspective gained in spaciousness is worth more than any deal made in depletion. And she practices the micro-restoration moments, the breath taken before a difficult conversation, the 3-minute walk outside between calls, the intentional silence over a meal instead of consuming content. These micro moments are the compound interest of restoration, small deposits that build, over time, into a woman who is genuinely, sustainably, radiantly well. Your audit for this chapter: when was the last time I rested without guilt? What beliefs do I carry about rest that are costing me energy? How can I build one restoration ritual into tomorrow's schedule? Chapter 6: Money, Time, and the Mirror. They hold here is an uncomfortable truth that will serve you enormously if you receive it fully. The way you manage your time is a mirror of the way you manage your money, and vice versa. Women who struggle with financial abundance often struggle with time abundance for the same underlying reasons. The patterns are parallel: spending impulsively versus saving with intention, saying yes to every financial request versus protecting your reserves, living in financial reaction mode versus operating from a strategic financial plan. Time is currency, and like all currency, its value is determined not by how much you have, but by how wisely you invest it. When you audit your daily schedule with the eyes of a wealthy woman, a woman who treats her time with the same sacred intentionality she brings to her financial decisions, something remarkable begins to happen. You stop hemorrhaging hours on low-return activities. You stop investing emotional energy in interactions that deplete rather than compound. You start saying no, not from scarcity, but from the profound abundance of knowing your own worth. Let me walk you through the wealthy woman's time investment framework. The first principle is alignment. Every significant time investment should align with your core values and your highest goals. Before accepting any commitment, ask, does this move me toward or away from the life I am building? The second principle is leverage. The wealthy woman is always asking, is this the highest and best use of my time right now? What can be delegated, automated, or eliminated so that my hours are spent on what only I can do? The third principle is return. What is the actual return on this time investment? Not just financial return, but energetic, relational, and purposeful return. Some activities return exponentially, others simply consume without giving back. Know the difference. The fourth principle is protection. Just as a savvy investor protects her capital, the high-value woman protects her time capital. She has boundaries, not walls, but clearly communicated structures that honor both herself and the people she serves. She understands that protecting her time is not selfish, it is essential, because a depleted woman cannot build an abundant life. And the fifth principle is review. The wealthy woman does not simply set her schedule and forget it. She reviews. She audits. Regularly, weekly, monthly, quarterly. She asks, is how I am spending my time still aligned with who I am becoming? What needs to be adjusted? This is the wealthy habits audit in practice, not a one-time event, but a living practice, a relationship with your time that grows more refined, more aligned, and more powerful with each review. Chapter 7. The permission you have been waiting for. We are nearing the close of this audit together, and I want to speak directly to the part of you that is still waiting for permission. Permission to slow down. Permission to say no. Permission to protect your mornings, your energy, your peace. Permission to build a life that looks different from the hustle everyone around you is performing. I want to be the voice that tells you clearly, you have permission, not because I grant it, but because you were born with it, because you are the author of your days, the architect of your hours, the sovereign of your schedule. No one else gets to determine the value of your time, not your employer, not your family, not your social media feed, not the cultural narrative that says ambitious women must sacrifice themselves to deserve success. You deserve success and peace, both, simultaneously, not sequentially, not peace after you have achieved success, but peace as the very foundation from which sustainable success is built. The women who have built real wealth, lasting, multidimensional, generational wealth, have not done so by destroying themselves. They have done so by honoring themselves, by creating structures that protected their energy, elevated their focus, and gave their greatest gifts the conditions they needed to flourish. That is available to you, not someday, now, beginning with the choices you make about tomorrow. You do not need to overhaul everything at once. Sustainable transformation is not explosive. It is incremental. Choose one thing from this audit, one habit to release, one ritual to begin, one boundary to set, 1 hour to reclaim, and then do it again next week and the week after, and watch as your days begin to reflect not your circumstances, but your convictions, not your overwhelm, but your authority, not your survival, but your sovereignty. Chapter 8. Your new daily blueprint. Before we close, let me offer you a simple framework, a daily blueprint that honors everything we have explored together. This is not a rigid prescription, it is a starting point, a template from which you will craft the schedule that is uniquely, specifically, perfectly yours. The morning anchor. The first 30 to 60 minutes belong to you. Silence, movement, journaling, prayer, breath, whatever form of centering serves your spirit. No phone, no news, no external input, just you, setting your own tone. The peak performance window. The next 2 to 4 hours are reserved for your most important work, your creative work, your wealth-building work, your deep, focused, needle-moving work. Protect this window with your life. The mid-morning maintenance window. administrative tasks, emails, calls, logistics, important, but not primary. These tasks require your presence, not your peak. The midday restoration, lunch, taken without screens if possible, a brief walk, a moment of genuine, non-productive rest. This is not luxury, this is infrastructure. The afternoon collaboration window meetings, conversations, brainstorming, connection, your social and collaborative energy well spent. The late afternoon review, 15 minutes to capture what was accomplished, clarify tomorrow's top 3, and close the professional chapter of your day. The evening anchor, a ritual of transition, dinner with presence, movement, reflection, or creative play, connection with people who restore you, a gradual, intentional wind down that prepares your nervous system for genuine rest, and sleep 7 to 9 hours, non-negotiable. Treat it as the most important appointment on your calendar. This is the schedule of a high-value woman, not because it is perfect, but because it is intentional, because every element of it was chosen with purpose, not fallen into by default. Closing. The audit never ends, and that is a gift. As we close this time together, I want you to understand something about the nature of this work. It is not a destination. The Wealthy Habits Audit is not something you complete and set aside. It is a practice, a living, breathing relationship with your own time and energy that grows more sophisticated and more aligned as you grow. Every season of life will bring new demands, new opportunities, new versions of yourself requiring new structures. The woman you are becoming will not have the same schedule as the woman you are today. And that is not failure, that is evolution. What you are building, right now, in this moment, is the habit of the audit itself. The habit of asking, is how I am spending my time, a reflection of who I truly am and where I am truly going. The habit of answering that question honestly, and then adjusting with grace. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are not too far into old patterns to begin again. You are a woman who chose today to invest an hour in herself, in her clarity, in her architecture, and that choice, that single, sovereign choice, is the beginning of everything. Go forth and design your days with the same intention, the same wisdom, and the same unapologetic love that you deserve to bring to every area of your life. The audit is complete. The work begins now, with love, with respect, and with absolute certainty in your capacity for abundance. This is your Wealthy Habits Audit. Now go build.